Good afternoon, chasers. Welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni, and this is Dean. Dean, how are you, my friend? I can see we've got in the chat Matthew from Atlanta, Michael from Down Under, Mike in Alaska. Proper global audience already today.
Yeah, I just saw that. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. We weren't sure if we were going to do a show this week, but on the back of what we've just seen over the last few days, like, it just felt we had to come on here, redress the balance, look back at our teams, check everyone's okay. It was a mad old game week, a great one. I thought it was a really exciting one. Like, we've had some real tough weeks across this season, I think, in FPL, where it's been so difficult to know where the points were coming from. And this felt like a week where, well, certainly for me, most of my decision making was either fine or good. And I think that was probably reflected. I mean, the average score was 50, which feels higher than it has been for a lot of this season.
Yeah, mate. I mean, you had a worldy week. You've had a worldy couple of weeks. We'll speak more about your team later, but
Yeah.
huge green arrows. I can't remember a bigger arrow actually from either of us ever. I think you've gone from around 1.4, 1.5 million to well inside the top 500k. So you're on a fat green arrow. I've had a good week. I'm inside the top 100k, which I'm buzzing about. We've got FPL Chai in the chat, who has gone from world number, I think he was 18, to world number 2. Although that may have changed. Yeah, that was before last night. So I don't know if last night changed much, but I don't think it did for him. I think him and world number 1 both had the same captain. So yeah, big game week. There's been some massive scores this week, and there's been some great individual performances. Do you remember when me, you, and Big Man spoke pre-deadline? I was looking at like, do I bench Palmer or Saka? Well, both of them returned. Darwin even got a small return. He was up for a few benchings, and a lot sold Darwin. Should have got way more. But we got to start with Cole Palmer because it's the biggest sort of point score of the weekend. What a performance.
What a performance, mate. I mean, there's not been that much to get excited about for you Chelsea fans this season. But in Cole Palmer's signing, like, you've got absolute gem. Every week, this guy turns up, struts around, does his stuff. Looks like he's got a chip on his shoulder, and fair play to him. I would too, mate, if I could play football like this. Like, you know, I like to see some arrogance in footballers. And the way that he makes a mockery of people, makes the game look so easy, is great. In this game, he's great. Like, if, you know, for those of us that got him at such good value early doors when he made those first couple appearances, I think I saw at Chelsea, was like, yeah, I've got to get this guy in. Like, he's going to play every game. Then when we saw he was on pens, that sort of thing, like, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant player, and he is a must-have in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't like to use that term, but for Cole Palmer, we absolutely can. Like, I was doing a top 10 Son and Salah replacements video. And actually, not just Son and Salah. If you're looking at midfielders, Matoma, Kudus, there's a few, Hwang, all going to be out of action now for potentially the next 4 or 5 game weeks. Right, number 1 of my top 10 replacements was Cole Palmer. Like, I said, if you don't have him, like, you got to bring this guy in. He's still under 6 million. He's 5.9 million. Next year, he's going to be 8 million plus. We've got a poll in the chat. Do vote. 88% of you did keep him in your team. No one sold him, which is good to know. Although I did see on Twitter 1 or 2 actually sell him to accommodate like a Foden or whoever, which felt like madness. And then 12% did bench him. So over 1 in 10 did bench him. And some, like Fabio, are looking at maybe even a captaincy for him in 21. Cold Palmer. City's playing themselves letting Palmer go. I mean, I don't think City probably wanted to let him go. I think it was more the offer was so good and they knew he wasn't getting in the 11 anytime soon. We can't forget, Phil Foden has only really become nailed, and I mean starting 90% of Premier League games this season. Foden's missed 2 Premier League games. I can't remember him starting so often, but we've always said about Foden, rotation risk. So if it's taken Foden this long to get into the City 11, it was going to take Cole Palmer another couple of years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he would have got games. Like, you consider that, especially like Haaland being out and stuff, and Alvarez being forced to play every single minute, it feels like. I think Palmer would have got more games at City than he might have anticipated if he'd stayed. But I still don't think he would have felt as important as he feels to Chelsea right now. And I think that means a lot to him. I think that he wants to go somewhere and feel like the main man. Fair play to him for stepping out of his comfort zone and doing that. Chelsea, to be honest, couldn't believe that they had the opportunity to sign him. And I've obviously not been impressed with a lot of Chelsea's transfer business over the course of the new ownership. But this one always felt good. because
It did, yeah.
Like a stupid money. It was signing a player of not just high potential like all the other ones, but one that was showing he could actually already live up to it. And he'd come to a system where you could have trust in that actually being implemented within Chelsea's system. Whereas when you were spending big money on, say, Caicedo, for example, Caicedo he wasn't a gamble because he's a really good footballer, but it was a gamble in terms of how quickly he would adapt to Chelsea style, because at Brighton, he had such a specific area of the pitch that he was that he could be brilliant, because he had to look out for like this zone and this zone, address everything in that, and didn't really have to venture into other areas of the play, and just had basically simple tasks. And that was the philosophy of the football. That changed at Chelsea. And I think it's very difficult once you have to start playing a different way, especially when the entire team is learning a new way of playing football. But Cole Palmer, no problems at all. I mean, anyone that hasn't got him needs him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. And what about last night's game we've got to touch on, because what a game of football that was. It broke all sorts of records. And I think I tweeted around half time to say the XG Liverpool have clocked already, and I think it was at 4 around the time I tweeted, 4 XG, could break records. And I hadn't even looked it up. I genuinely, it was a bit of a flippant tweet. I wasn't expecting it to actually break records. I was just being flippant with it. And then commentary team said in the 92nd minute, whatever it was Drury, was like, yeah, it's broke the Premier League record for XG. Over 7 XG in a single football match in the Premier League, I don't think has ever happened. And Liverpool went and got that against a top 4 rival. Now, Newcastle's XGC, the expected goals conceded, has been shocking. And over the festive period, no team has looked leakier. They are a team to target. And they've got Man City in Gameweek 21. If you don't have Haaland in and you think he's going to be fit for 21, we're all thinking we could keep Haaland till 22, Burnley at home, and maybe go without Haaland in 21. I don't think we can anymore. This Newcastle defence is leaky. So let's talk about them, and then also how good Liverpool are in attack.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at what Newcastle have got now. They've got FA Cup game as well in between, which is going to repair some hopeful damage for them. But their match is against Sunderland. Now, that's massive. Like, Sunderland will actually sniff the chance of an upset there, and that is a proper upset that will really rock the boat. I mean, that team was dead on their legs last night. Yeah. If you heard that part of the commentary where Gary Neville was like, look at them, look at Gordon, I think it was, who couldn't like run at one stage at the back end of the first half. And you're just like, what more can Eddie Howe actually get out of this group? The midfield has become a bit invisible in the last 3-4 games. And that's because they are being forced to play so many minutes at such intensity. Newcastle can't cope with it. They got to get a signing like Calvin Phillips through the door before that game. But why would Man City do a deal for Calvin Phillips before that game? Like, why'd they do it? I mean, certainly not going to, obviously, if he was loaned, he can't play anyway. But there's the possibility that you could try and buy him. Newcastle say they can't afford to do that right now, so it seems very unlikely. But that is the guy that you think, if Newcastle were going to find a fix, then they want to turn to Calvin Phillips. But he's not going to be available to play in their next game, which is what they're going to need. Now, obviously, the break does them a little bit of good, I think. But I'm definitely targeting them, mate. I mean, definitely. I'm a bit annoyed because I took Dubravka out of my team this week and went for Turner, and a bit unlucky on both sides of it, really. But Newcastle just can't be trusted at the moment in this game.
Yeah, they are on the ropes, I think we can safely say. And they're playing Sunderland, who, by the way, are into the top 6 in the Championship. They've won 2 of the last 3. That's going to be a really interesting game. And the FA Cup's really important for scouting, because many of us are looking at Son and Salah replacements going, do we go early because they're dropping in price? Salah dropped in price last night. My answer to everyone watching is forget about team value, and information is king. Because in those FA Cup games, we could get injuries. In those FA Cup games, we could see that Haaland is back starting. We could see that De Bruyne is back starting, that Doku is back starting. We could see a hat-trick from Doku and go, he's the next best thing. We want him in 21. Because don't forget, players like Doku, they were starting every week pretty much till they got injured. We know how much we love KDB and obviously Haaland. But those 3 guys at Man City I think should all be on our radar. Jota, we could see a Jota start. We've not seen that since his injury, playing number 9 or playing on the right instead of Salah, and go, Jota's going to play on the right instead of Salah now for the next 4 game weeks. The information we get in those FA Cup games, especially from Man City and Liverpool, are absolutely huge for our transfers ahead of game week 21 and our captaincy for 21 as well. Because if we think Haaland, let's say Haaland starts in the FA Cup and gets 60, and then we think he's good for potentially 90 minutes against Newcastle, I've no doubt we'll want to captain him against that Newcastle defence again. Like, I don't care if it's at St James's Park. If Newcastle look poor against Sunderland and look leaky as well, then straight again, I think we'll be wanting Haaland back on the team. And everyone needs pretty much 2 transfers to get Haaland back in, don't they? They need to sell Salah and they need to go Haaland in for a Darwin or an Alvarez.
Yeah, exactly that. Thanks for the super chat there, Off-Core. Drop a like. Yeah, absolutely. Please do give us a like on this stream. Yeah, they are going to have to do something like that. In terms of Liverpool, I am quite interested. I mean, you've still got Darwin, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
Mate,
He was always going to go for Haaland, and now's the time, I think.
Yeah, but do you know what, mate? Like, I've obviously been his biggest critic. Yeah, you are unlucky, mate, because what more can the bloke do, like, to try and get the ball into the back of the net? It's not... No, this isn't Nicholas Jackson style finishing anymore. He's actually like hitting the target, and like whether it's a shot, there's that.
And he hits it clean. He doesn't scuff shots, does he?
No, he hits them clean. And I heard Neville saying, "Oh, he just needs to. If he can just get his finishing, he's going to be top class." I'm like, I'm actually not seeing that much wrong with his finishing, to be honest. Like he's hitting them pretty clean. He was gutted to go off in that game because I think he genuinely felt a goal was coming, but in his mind now, he's like, I've come off and the score, it was 1-1 when he went off, wasn't it? Yeah. And then before you know it, the floodgates are starting to open.
Jota, Hakpo, both getting on the score sheet as well.
10 minutes later, you're seeing that we're, Curtis Jones has scored, Gakpo's got a goal, Jota's got an assist. Jota was really good. Yeah. Hakpo offers something a bit different. So with Darwin, it's a tough one because I feel like the second you get rid of him, mate, I feel like he might be on the verge of something here.
Yeah, he is. You're right. But I have said that for the last 5-6 weeks. And I look at the last 6-7 game weeks. I've got like 20-25 points from him. Like I've had a couple of assists and 1 goal, I think.
Tough.
And you can't. There's other players doing well.
Yeah, this is the thing. You don't need to persist because there's nobody else going to be getting those points. So you just have to accept it for what it is.
Yeah, it's frustrating. No one's owned Darwin in the last 2 years more than me. Like I don't know another FPL manager that's bought Darwin 4, maybe 5 times. I think I've owned him in 2 seasons. Like most that bought Darwin for this phase were tweeting, the first time I've owned Darwin, quite excited for the chaos. And it's like, don't be too excited. You're not gonna get much. But I thought Neville was harsh on Darwin last night. And unfortunately, the agenda of a Sky Sports commentator or the thoughts of a Sky Sports commentator, especially one as good and as sort of powerful and listened to as Neville, those, especially football Twitter, will just mimic the same thoughts. So yes, Darwin was poor in front of goal last night, and yes, he should have scored more, but he is creating chances for himself, and he does hit the ball clean, and a lot of them are on target. Like the one-on-one, Neville was right. He never really looked like scoring, but that's because we know the player, and the player doesn't score one-on-ones. But recently for Argentina, Uruguay, I think maybe against Argentina or Brazil, I can't remember which, he scored a brilliant one-on-one where he actually did hit at the keeper's legs and it went through them. And many strikers aim for the keeper's legs because it often goes through. And Neville went, it was straight at the keeper's legs. And it's like, hang on, Neville, when Michael Owen used to do that, you would say, it was brilliant that you're aiming for the keeper's legs because it would always go through them. So a little bit harsh, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. Shouts out to Off-Core, who did put Lewis Potter in his team.
I said, check that he'll start, and he did, and he scored in the first 5 minutes.
2 minutes he took to score. It was so funny because I saw that score come in, and it came up with the name Lewis Potter. Off-Core, I promise you, like I was thinking of you immediately when that happened. Fair play to you. It was a good call.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same. I thought of Off-Core, who is one of my channel members as well, and on my show. So thanks, Off-Core, for your super chat as well.
Yeah, good.
I thought, because I think Mopé was benched as well, so it was an interesting selection. Lewis Pott was kind of playing in front too. Will says, will we also get to see AFCON Asia Cup games? If Egypt, South Korea have an upset, will it affect the keep sell? Well, that's the beauty of it. If these guys do go out in the group stages, which by the way is so slim, especially I'd say for South Korea, because the depth is less in that competition. Yeah. And they only actually missed 1 game. They only missed 21.
Yeah, but like you say, like the
It's not
quality
gonna
of this
happen, is it?
tournament is not high. This is not like, you know, the Euros or something. It's yeah, I don't want to be too patronizing here, but it's very slim.
Yeah, I think so. But I think before 21, and I could be wrong, I think we do perhaps get to see the first game of their competition. So let's say there's a surprise and one of them loses. You might go, oh, I've got a couple of days to react to that and therefore consider maybe keeping one. I must admit, I haven't fully committed to selling both yet. I'm 90% sure I'll have to sell both, but there is a chance I could keep one of these guys and just bench them because I've got a good 8th attacker in place. We'll see my team later. For those teams that have got a dead spot like a Mabama or a Cameron Archer, you probably can't carry that attacking player plus your Son or your Salah on your bench. Saying that, I think I'm going to need the funds and therefore to sell both. I don't know how I'm going to buy them back though, because we've set up our teams now to have a Trent and we'll have a Haaland. And we might have midfielders like a Bowen or a Foden. You therefore cannot get to Salah and Son if you keep those guys. You're probably going to have to get money out of a Trent or a Foden or a Bowen to get a Salah, a Bowen, and a Son back if you want both anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people will be wondering how they start to deal with this Son Salah dilemma. I was looking at mine last night. I mean, I'll be getting rid of either Solanke or Alvarez from my attack to bring Haaland back, assuming he's fit, and then probably bringing in Bowen. I think I don't have Bowen at this stage, so I feel like with the fixtures coming up, I just want to double check. Yeah, they got Sheffield United away. Like, obviously, he's got a great away record. Sheffield United not looking good, so I'll probably be looking to do that, and I'll still have some money left in the bank, and I've managed to do that so far. I haven't spent all of my Haaland money since I got him out, and I need to make sure that I continue to do that with this Salah Son conundrum because we're going to want these guys back. It was a really interesting thing. Let's see if I can find it. Actually, while we're quickly talking, I should have prepped this. I don't know if you saw yesterday. I think it was the Fantasy Premier League page put out every team's top goal scorer across this season.
Oh yeah, top point scorer.
Top point scorer. Maybe it was across the year, actually. I'll try and find it in a second. But it was really interesting and actually made me think, why do I not consider this more closely when I'm picking my team? Like, why am I not tracking like the longevity of points over the 2-3 weekers? Because if I'd have kept faith in these people, that'd have been fine. Say Bernd Leno, for example, like, such a high scoring goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many times I've had Bernd Leno across the course of 2023. But maybe
we're not patient enough.
No, we're not patient enough. And I don't know what he is. But when I was looking through, I can't find it right now. But when I was looking through that list, I was like, wow, there's so many obvious things in here that you, over the course of a season, get misguided by.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Bowen will be the popular one if he returns tonight. If Bowen blanks tonight, then there will be a lot that perhaps look to go to probably Foden. I don't want loads buying Foden, but I think a lot will go to Foden, especially because there could be a Man City double game week announced for Game Week 25, as CR7 says in the chat. And if that happens, let's say we get a double announcement for Man City and Foden's not in your team and you're selling a Son or a Salah, knowing what Foden's done in the last couple of weeks, a lot will go to Foden. But if Bowen returns tonight, then Bowen will probably be the number one replacement for those that say don't have a Saka or already have a Saka and a Palmer. So I think he'll be very popular. But also Jota. I think Jota's going to be popular now. And I know people will worry about his minutes. But what do you think, Dean, in terms of Liverpool's front three when Salah's gone? There are three options for the right-hand side. Szoboszlai, we know, naturally plays on the right. But again, he went off injured last night and has fit in well in the midfield three. Elliott has played when Salah's moved central at times. We've seen Elliott on the right in various cup games. And he's always done well this season when he's come on. But Jota, whilst he probably prefers playing left or central, has done a job on the right in the past. It doesn't matter where Jota plays, just seems to do well for Liverpool and get points. So I think Jota's going to be good for a start, whether it's central or right. It probably won't be left because Luis Diaz and Darwin exist. But I think Jota could get 4 out of 4 starts in Mo Salah's absence. I don't think that's too clutchy.
Especially when you see the impact that he had coming in and the last night and the types of runs that he had. And he's so hard to track and he's got a proper goal threat about him too. He's usually so trustworthy. There was that spell when Jota was like almost the must-have Liverpool asset at one point. Like he was so good. If he can get himself into that sort of form, it'll be really interesting what they do. Like Liverpool also want to consider what they do long term, because obviously Salah, there is doubts around him for next season and stuff, and there's links where maybe they go and sign somebody like Elise from Crystal Palace. But I think this is an opportunity for somebody to really take this and think, actually, without Salah, you don't need to go and buy anyone. Like, trust me, and I can do it for you.
Yeah, I think that Richarlison's, I guess, another name we haven't spoken about who will be popular. He did score this weekend, Dean. What's your take on Richarlison? Because my concern, a bit like I should mention with Jota, is like, yeah, even when they start, they don't play 90. But in the absence of Son, just like in the absence of Salah, these guys might become maybe not 90, but maybe 80, 85-minute guys instead of 70-minute guys, which is Richarlison's got a ton of 70-minute subs, which I don't love. But he is playing number 9 for an attacking team. And he'll probably be on pens.
He is, yeah. I mean, it's hard to judge the fixtures too. I mean, Man United away, I don't know if that's a good fixture or a bad fixture. Like, genuinely, I don't know which version of Man United we're going to get that day. So I think like you're a 50-50 as to whether Richarlison scores there. Brentford at home, I think is a really good fixture at the moment because Brentford fallen off a cliff recently. Yeah. So I would be backing Richarlison to score a goal in that one. And then it's Everton away in Brighton. So actually, it is a nice little spell of games. If Richarlison's going to do it, then this is not a bad period for him to actually be properly leading that line. We do forget, like, the qualities this guy has got are genuine. You don't become Brazil's number 9 without that.
Yep.
It's just, can he consistently stick the ball away? And I mean, this might be a turning point for him in the season.
Yeah, he does feel like he's...
I definitely see more from him. I'm seeing more from him. Yeah, I do. I do generally feel the feel of what I'm seeing a little bit more from Richarlison at the moment. And it's not completely evident. I know. I just think there are moments there that makes you feel like there's potential for a little goal haul. By the way, Raul Jimenez, well, before I forget to point this out, is becoming, mate, he's looking good. Like, properly looking good.
Yeah, he is. I'm watching Raul Jimenez now and going, Fulham actually did really well to get him, because this is a player with pedigree. We've seen at Wolves that when he's on form, this is a player that kind of, well, top half table teams really like. Like, he's been linked with big clubs in the past. Now he's a bit old and he's not going to get that move now, but he's happy at Fulham and he's 5.2 million FPL. He clocked an XG of 0.5, not bad numbers. Before he went and got suspended, he was actually getting a bit of love. People were buying him, weren't they? And then he got was it a couple of games suspension?
Got the red card, got a 3-game ban, and then he came back into the team against Arsenal, and he was so good. Like, he really brought that team together. Scored a goal, which is vital for his confidence. Took it well as well. Like, there's definitely a new threat about Jimenez that we didn't see in the early weeks of him at Fulham. And yeah, on the eye test, he is definitely passing it. I'm not saying pick him for the Chelsea game, because that is an early game on a Saturday that I've got a horrible feeling ends up like 0-0 or 1-0 Chelsea or something.
But then it's good.
But after that, it's quite good for Fulham. Yeah, I mean, we have got the Carabao Cup semi-finals with Liverpool to face, so bear that in mind. But we have got Everton home, Burnley away, Bournemouth home. Like, that is a nice little run of games to kind of just pencil Jimenez in for potentially.
We do know when Son and Salah are back from the AFCON and Asia Cup, we're all going to go, we're out of money. We've spent the Haaland money. We've got Haaland back. We've bought Trent. We've got better midfielders. And we'll no doubt want to shoehorn a Salah and a Son back in, both of them, right? To do that, we're going to need players in our 11 that are cheap. Players in our 11 that are cheap. Yeah, Cole Palmer's there. Brilliant. But there's not too many others that kind of are below 6 million that you go, you'd happily put in your 11 each week. So you might need to make a downgrade or two. I don't know. Watkins to a Jimenez could save you 3 million. And you go, okay, now I can get Salah. From Gameweek 24, fixtures, he'd play Bournemouth at home. Then it's Aston Villa at home, United away, Brighton at home, Wolves away. It's not a bad run. There'll be players like Jimenez that we might have to consider when funds are tight. And I don't think we can fully plan what we want to do in 24-25, because yes, those players will be returning, but also we might have double game weeks for Liverpool. We might have double game weeks for Man City. So again, we're going to need to be really smart. And when you can roll the transfers, any given week where you can roll, because if you go into game week 23-24 with 2 free transfers, you're going to be that move ahead, which will really, really help. It will effectively save you 4 points.
Yeah, Wachter makes a good point. Sorry, I'll get onto the other ones in a second. But Wachter says, "When is everyone wildcarding?" What's your impression right now around when you think people might go?
Yeah, I mean, as always, I try and save it for not too far away from blanks and double game weeks. The beauty of wildcarding out of a blank is you can dead end your team, or wildcarding into a double. You can make sure you've got those 11 players playing twice. Usually, when the doubles fall and the blanks fall, you're looking at around game week 29, 30. And again, I think the FA Cup 5th round maybe influences that. I will probably be saving mine for, around that 29, 30 mark. But again, I'm not booking it in until we know more about blanks and doubles. And as the weeks continue, we will know way more. Now the FA Cup's just about to start. And with every round of the FA Cup, and of course, we've got the Carabao Cup final in, I think, Feb. And again, Liverpool and Chelsea could feature there. So there's blanks and therefore doubles. Every time you get a blank, you'll get a double. But I think hold your horses for now. I don't think many people have activated it yet because, of course, you can. Wildcard 2 is now available. But for me, you wait until the chip season and you effectively use it just like you would a triple captain or a bench boost going in or coming out of a double game week.
Yeah, I mean, AFCON makes the point that I was thinking a lot of people will use that to get Salah and Son back. Like that is the other thing to consider. So like that's not like a great idea, I don't think. I think there are other ways to get those guys back in. But definitely a lot of people, especially casuals, will just use that. Well, they'll just transfer them out. And then I think they'll use that to get them back in. So that might be something we can use to your advantage if you can hold that wild card beyond that moment.
Yeah, Maliki. Hello, Maliki from Ireland. He's used his wild card already. Nice and early, Maliki. I think Dean's right, though. Like, if you can save it, save it. If you do use it for when these guys are returning, if there is a double game week in and around that as well, then it could be used to your advantage. Let's say we think they're all going to be back for game week 24, 25, and there's Liverpool and Man City both doubling in 25. Then then actually I'll be open to it. But I think I would need news of double game weeks as well as returning players to reshuffle. Because we still don't know. Like, you might go Son and Salah are back, but actually I can go without Son for a couple of months or a month because I've got Richarlison in place and the Spurs fixtures aren't great. But can I go without Salah? Probably not, because I can't cover his points with anyone else and Liverpool's fixtures are really good. So we just need to be flexible to that when it comes. And again, the form of these players in those tournaments will be key, because I'll be worried about burnout if likes of Salah go to the final. I think Salah, off the back of the last AFCON, when he went to the final, I think his form off the back of it was really poor. And I'm not surprised. He was playing 120 minutes, I think, from the quarters, semi and final. I think they all went to added time and he was just shattered. He just needed a break.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Liverpool, once we get to game week 24, they've got Burnley at home in game week 24, Liverpool. And then they've got Brentford away, Luton home, Forest away. Like, it's a nice 4-game run. So there is definitely going to be temptation, especially for the Salah one.
There really is. There's nearly 300 of you watching, guys. Thank you for the support. It's clearly a very busy time. I've noticed the last couple of days really have been. So do hit that like button. If you're still off from work, then enjoy the break. But likes and subscribing to the channel. There's loads of new people that are perhaps watching for the first time. Don't be a lurker. Come and play in the chat, but also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell when you do.
Yeah, we are here usually 2-3 times a week, so you get plenty out of us for your little click on that subscribe button. You can watch us back at any point too, so thanks for everybody that continues to do that. We have plenty of lurkers, so don't worry if you just want to sit in the background too and just listen to us. That's totally fine. Walter points out Luton will be a blank if Liverpool get the FA Cup final
to the Carabao Cup final. Walter,
Walter, they won't, because they're playing Fulham in the semi-finals and we're going to do them, so don't worry about that.
And Chelsea as well, remember. So again, those doubles could be announced sooner rather than later, because when a team blanks, if you're, say, like we got the Bournemouth Luton, we know that fixture needs to be rescheduled. That can go into a ton of other game weeks, because Bournemouth and Luton don't have much midweek football. They're not in the Carabao Cup. They're not in Europe, right? So the Premier League can go, if that did slot into game week, I don't know, 33, it wouldn't be a big deal. But for teams like Man City, Brentford, they've got to reschedule that one for the Club World Cup. It's like, we need to get that in soon, because Man City could get more blanks further down the line, and they play in Europe every other week anyway. Liverpool the same. So if Liverpool gets to the Carabao Cup final, rather than reschedule that double with Luton for the second half of the season, sort of after game week 25 or way after that, they're like, oh no, we got to get it in soon. We'll get it in actually before the Carabao Cup final because Luton have got another one to reschedule and Liverpool playing Europe.
Yeah, it's funny. My my little boy, obviously Fulham fan, just keeps asking me when we're going to Wembley. Like it's so when are we going to Wembley, Dad? How many weeks? It's like, no, we're not definitely, because when we're at Fulham now, everyone's singing "Que sera, sera," we're going to Wembley.
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, but we beat Arsenal, so we will beat Liverpool. I was like, ooh, mate, I love your outlook on. It's like he went to the Arsenal game the other day, and he's like, we'll win today. And I was like, well, we probably won't. He said, no, because Burnley beat us, but nobody expected that to happen. So nobody's expecting us to beat Arsenal, so we'll win this one. I was like, afterwards, he's like, told you, 2-1. And to be fair, he literally said 2-1. But yeah, it's very funny. Like, it gives you a totally different outlook on these situations. Like, where everyone here is just assuming, like I am pretty much, that it is going to be a Carabao Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool. And then the age of innocence tells you that actually it's going to be Fulham v Middlesbrough and we don't have to worry about it at all.
One for the romantics. I'd love that, especially after last season when Fulham were robbed at Old Trafford and they were short of a Wembley appearance then, weren't they?
Absolutely, right.
Some of the lurkers are coming clean. FPL Chai says, even I'm lurking. Bill says, first day back. RTJ says, lurkers. The struggle is real. Heather's first day back as well. Join us, lurkers, says Offcore. There we go.
My first day back too. Today's my first proper day back at work. Is it yours as well? Yeah, I've had such a busy morning. Obviously, transfer window's open. I've had, what have I done so far? Like 2 shows already this morning, and this one now, the third. It's only lunchtime. Got another podcast to do this afternoon. I've got a couple of transfer articles to write this afternoon. It's all kicking off.
Yeah, I've been battering my keyboard from 7 a.m. as well. I'm like, oh, welcome back. Welcome back. CH has got a poll idea for our producer. Love that, CH. There we go. We can definitely do some more polls in the chat. We love a poll. If you ever got an idea for the poll,
stick it up.
Do let us know. Guys, and thank you for subscribing. I can see a couple of you have hit that subscribe button, and I know a few of you have hit the like button as well. So keep pushing those buttons for CGA. But look, you know I love the bonus point system. We've done a couple of shows on this stream where I've gone and sort of described the 32 metrics of the BPS, which is always loads of fun. Let us know if you want me to do another one of those in the not too distant, because the bonus point system is so complex and people always criticize it. It's like, oh, this player got man of the match, why didn't you get 3 bonus? Or, oh, FPL Towers weren't watching that game. It's like, no, you can't really argue with it. It's very simple. Like, it's not always the best player on the pitch, but it's the best player for the 32 metrics. And those 32 metrics for defenders might include points for interceptions, tackles, blocks, of course, goals, assists, but not to the same degree that a forward would get BPS for a goal. Successful passes, pass completion. It's really intricate and really interesting. And every week I like to point out a couple of players that are doing well in the BPS, because genuinely it affects my transfer plans if I'm not sure who I'm buying, player X or player Y. And the thing that separates those two players is their performance in the BPS, and you've got your decision. So let's move on and give us some tips and chips with some players that smashed it in the BPS this week. No way. Stephen Smalley in the chat is second in the Chasers League.
I was just looking at this. He's got 1,259 points. Stephen, what is your overall rank? Let us know.
That is awesome. Who's top of our chat? Is FPL Chai in the Chasers League? He should be.
No.
Oh, Chai, sort it out, mate. Come on, Chai. You'd be obviously top of our league. I don't think the world number 1 is in.
He's definitely not. But 1,259. We'll have him in like the top 10K, I reckon.
Yeah, that's a rank of 1,639.
Wow.
And top of our league is ranked 369. So Chai would definitely come in top. Chai, we're not giving it away this season, but this is the channel that has given away a PS. What was it, Dean? PS4.
Yeah, I think it was before the 5 came out. Or certainly very early days of it. Yeah, I don't think we could afford a 5. I think we gave away a
4. Possibly even a PS5.
Maybe a 5. You'd get a 5 if you did it again.
There we go. CH says, I can't do polls, FPL down under. It'd be a nightmare if I could do polls every 4 minutes. Oh, it's fine, CH. We love the poll suggestions. We'll definitely get one up soon.
Yeah.
So look, bonus beasts.
Yeah, go on.
Foden. I purposely saved the Foden chat earlier. This is one of the reasons I've gone for Foden in terms of why I was so pro Foden over Alvarez. And it's this position, Dean. I love an average position map. We can see Bernardo Silva playing on the right, Grealish high left, Alvarez number 9, number 19. But when Foden's playing in this role and he's central, he's just so good in the BPS, but he's so good just in FPL because he gets shots. He's the creator. The key passes are there. He's dribbling lots. He's always on the ball. I mean, 83 accurate passes. There's very few number 10s. I'd almost say there won't be a single number 10 this weekend that had 83 successful passes, on the ball as much as Foden. Everything is going through him. He's the heartbeat with Rodri behind him. They're the heartbeats in the team. And when De Bruyne is back, I'm worried Foden will be pushed out wide, but there is still hope that him, Rodri, and De Bruyne can still all play centrally. And then you've just got Bernardo and then a Doku or Grealish out left. But he smashed it this weekend. And again, it was another one of those weekends where you go, he could have had a 20-pointer. But that does always feel the case with Foden because it's the way he plays. But he did miss a big chance. He was a huge creative force and he rightly picked up all 3 bonus points.
Yeah, I saw you celebrating this one. Once Alvarez scored, I thought, I might be on for us to do all right here. And then I remembered your BPS system. And I was like, no, not going to work out for me this one. But Foden, mate, looks so good. He looks so strong in this team at the moment. He's almost taking it personally that people thought he couldn't help carry this team through this period of games. And yeah, it's been great. Man City, for all the talk of a crisis, are actually in a brilliant run of form at the moment when you look at their actual results. Just to track back over what we've seen in recent weeks, 2-0 against Sheffield United, 3-1 against Everton, 4-0 against Fluminense, 3-0 against Urawa Red Diamonds. I know that those games have to be tapered a little bit in terms of how excited we get, but they were still 4 games where they had to get things back on track, and they've basically done it resoundingly. I know there was a little bit of a panic up in the Everton game, but there's no doubt here that we are about to see a Man City team come into their own. And when I look at what we're getting from Man City across the next month, I think Man City will be top of the league by the end of January, and I think that they'll run away with it from there. They've got Huddersfield in the FA Cup, right? So they can rest players basically and win that one. And then they've got Newcastle away, which these days is an easy win. Burnley, Brentford, Everton then before the end of Jan. It's a really nice run of games at a time when you've also got Haaland returning, probably got De Bruyne back in the mix. And Foden still, though, is somebody that you can trust is going to be getting starts because of his form.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Since I think before the Club World Cup, I think it was maybe the Luton game and then Everton game after the Club World Cup. And then again at the weekend, all of those games, including the Club World Cup semi and final, they've all got one thing in common in terms of Foden's position. He's played centrally. Mm-hmm. Put him in a central role and he's a brilliant FPL asset. And he's going to have a huge amount of managers now going for him. I'm just looking at his ownership and price in terms of rises. He has already gone up in price this week. He's 18.7% owned. I think he was about 7% owned when I bought him. So he's gone up a good 10% already in the last few weeks. He's likely to have another price rise this week. He'll be 7.9, maybe even 8 by the deadline. I don't think you should jump on him early because information is king and who knows, he could get injured in the FA Cup. But yeah, he'll get a lot of love, especially if Bowen doesn't score tonight. If Bowen does score big tonight, then perhaps a lot go Bowen over Foden. For some, it will be you can get both because you're selling and Salah. But for many, it will be that perhaps they can only want to commit to one of those guys in that bracket.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Kudus, extreme doubts around his fitness going forward. I mean, he'll miss tonight's game. I assume he's going to be okay to go to AFCON. I don't think the injury is bad enough that it's going to rule him out of that, but there'll definitely be tests around it. But if Kudus is out, then obviously Bowen's importance becomes even stronger.
Yeah, Offcore needs to run, so see you later, Offcore. Hopefully you're still here to hear this, and thank you for the super chat earlier. Let's have a look at a couple of other bonus beasts. Foden was one. I don't like to always pick out the obvious ones, so you won't get players like Salah and Haaland when they get 3 bonus points. I don't think we need to talk about players like Salah and Haaland, do we? So players that are perhaps not always so highly owned. And Cunha is one we've spoken about in the past on this stream as a differential we like. And Dean and I have said a few times, certainly I have, Dean, I've said he's just never been a clinical finisher. And again, his numbers at past clubs, Leipzig and Atletico Madrid, he's never really scored many goals. But he's starting to score goals in this Wolves team, and he's playing well.
He is playing really well. It's funny because Dylan, little boy that I mentioned earlier on, he has got a fantasy team, which we keep forgetting. I always forget he's got it. But at the weekend, I suddenly realised that he hadn't done his team for weeks, and also he hadn't played his wild card all season. So I was like, "Oh, this is fun! I get to play with someone's wild card." So I let him pick a couple of players, and then I basically changed them. But mate, I picked Cunha and made him captain in his team. I was like, why didn't we talk about this in the show? Why didn't we talk about the fact that Cunha is actually a really good, differential pick for this week as a not just a pick, but as a captain against Everton.
Wolves at home. Yeah,
Wolves at home are a really good proposition. So I brought him in 24 points with that little move. But yeah, it made me think that he definitely is a nice little option to have at 5.8 million.
Yeah, like his XG was really high, as well as obviously getting the goals. He's always got an assist threat because he's a bit of a creator in terms of the average position map. I don't think we've got it on the graphic here, but he's usually playing behind the number 9. So let's say Hwang's number 9, you then get 2 behind him. It's a front 3, right? But it's a narrow 3. So it's Cunha and Sarabia, the 2 behind Hwang. Pedro Neto is back. He played, I think, 10 minutes. Expects Neto to start in 21 for Hwang. So the front 3 will, instead of Hwang, he'll be gone for 4 or 5 games. We'll see, I think, Neto, Sarabia. Why can I never say his name? Sarabia. The guy that was rubbish at PSG and somehow got in the Spain team, but scored a worldie recently. But Cunha, again, like I forget, Cunha is a player that's gone for big money in the past. I think his transfer was like nearly 35-40 million to Atletico, maybe. He's played for Brazil. I think he's been capped for the Brazil.
Oh, mate, he's a great player. Well. He is a great player.
He's still young, isn't he?
It's just that goal threat that's been lacking. Like, he just hasn't been a reliable goal scorer. Yeah. But in the way that this Wolves team is changing, I still think if I was to take one Wolves player, I'd take Hwang always.
Yeah, he looked amazing at the weekend as well. Like, I don't know how he didn't get bonus points, to be fair.
So good, Hwang. But yeah, beyond that, Cunha is what I'd be looking at now. Ait Nouri is typically someone I always keep my eye on. I like Ait Nouri.
Ait Nouri in the average position map, I think I sent it on our WhatsApp group, so high. Almost the same position as Cunha, because they're playing the back 3. So the wing backs, Semedo and Ait Nouri are like wide forwards. Yeah.
It's a really interesting team, Wolves, to look out for. I think Wolves and Bournemouth in the second half of the season are going to throw up a few interests. If they get a batch of fixtures over like 3 games that look tempting, there's going to be some players there to definitely target.
Yeah. That run of games we can see at the bottom of the screen there under Cunha's name. It is a tricky run, but again, Wolves will turn up against anyone. I think maybe again when we spoke about Jimenez earlier. Come game week 24-25, when we're looking to maybe squeeze a Son and Salah back in our team, we're going to need players in our 11 that are cheap. Cole Palmer, we all have, but maybe players like Jimenez or Cunha. Cunha is a forward, by the way. Hwang is a midfielder. So Hwang will be very easy to accommodate, or easier to accommodate potentially, and also very similar price point. But definitely eyes on a Wolves player. And I'm with you. I think Ait Nouri could be a nice little pickup as well. He's playing well. He is obviously off with Algeria for the AFCON too.
Yeah, absolutely. In the poll, mate, it seems that everyone really likes me and you. So we've got 53% of the votes. That's good news, seeing as it's our show. I mean, I didn't come here every week. I think this is a great show, but I hate these two.
Thanks for voting, guys. And as you're clicking those buttons, make sure you click the subscribe and like. PS5 it was. We've had confirmation. If the top of our mini league won a PS5, how cool is that? How cool is that? Can't guarantee that prize this year, but we'll try and give away a free book or something.
I haven't got a PS5, have you?
No. Wouldn't mind one. CGA is also the channel. If you're new around here, we've had some special guests in the last 12 months. Like, seeing as we're just going into 2024, we should mention Dean and I have hosted on this channel Jules Breach, ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Summers, Olivia Bazaglo, Becky Ives. We've had James Richardson, Ian Irvin, Dean Ashton, former Premier League striker. And was Dean Ashton capped by England? I think he was.
Yeah, he must have been. Yeah. That was a good one. I like the Dean Ashton one. That was fun. He was a good bloke.
Yeah, we should definitely get Dean back on, shouldn't we? Because he loves FPL as well, doesn't he? He was telling us on the show. He really is into it.
He is. Yeah. We've had some good guests. And obviously we have Big Man on here every week.
True say. Can't forget Big Man. We have him every Wednesday for me and Big Man. Not this week, but by next Wednesday we'll be back.
Yeah.
We should have a look at our. In fact, I think have we got one more bonus beast? Have we done 2 or 3? I think we've done 2. We've got one more. We'll do one more, and then we'll mention Big Man's team as well. Because I think I've got that up in front of me on one of my mini leagues. I'm definitely competing with Big Man hard this year. Douglas Luiz. We'll be quick on Douglas Luiz because what you see is what you get. You get a guy that's on penalties. And he seems to get a lot of penalties at Villa. He's also on all the set pieces and has scored some open play goals. That XG is 0.78 for the penalty and then about 0.2 for open play. This is his average position. This is why I don't buy Douglas Luiz, but there's very good content creators out there, especially those that are into the data and analytics that own Douglas Luiz. He's pretty, you can actually see him and John McGinn were both pretty deep. But Douglas Luiz is even more deep than the left wing back or the left back Moreno in a 4. Jacob Ramsey is ahead of him. But he's often on the ball and he does do well in the BPS. So if you get a goal or an assist, you'll very likely get bonus points from Douglas Luiz. It is worth pointing that out. And Villa seem to be a team that just get loads of penalties.
Yeah, I'm still a bit annoyed that he takes penalties. I'm not going to lie, because I've got Watkins and I've got Diaby at the moment. And when Villa get a penalty, there's always that part of me that gets excited that I'm about to get some points and I'm just not. And it's like, oh, man, why is he taking them? He's good at them, though.
He is very good. And Watkins had a ratio of under 50% conversion rate, which is shocking at Aston Villa. I had to come off them.
Maybe it's saving me points that he's not taking them anymore.
The average position map on the right, on the Villa right-hand side, our left as we look at it, is really interesting when you see that both Diaby and Bailey start. When both Diaby and Bailey start, let's say you're watching Match of the Day, they would never put these players both on the right-hand side, but clearly that's where they played. Like, I know you've not got Matty Cash, so you have no threat from fullback because Konza's not going to cross the halfway line much. But it's just weird that clearly one of them was playing sort of number 10 and one was playing wide right. But Diaby in the 10 just naturally is going to drift wide. So both of them in really similar spaces, but both playing well. I mean, Leon Bailey, for me, is probably Aston Villa's player of the last sort of couple of weeks. He's been brilliant. Yeah. And Diaby got you a goal as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I was pleased the Diaby gamble paid off in the end. Obviously, the first week he didn't get any points, but the second week he's delivered a goal. So I'm going to stick with that one for a little bit because it's a nice little differential.
Yeah, I like that. Let's move on to our teams. We've still got time to answer a few questions as well. I think I saw a question for Dean about a Fulham player. We'll try and get to that before the end of the show as well. But look, next up, we've got our teams. Here we go. Dean, you got 86 big ones.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone to play, so you are 86 all out.
But that's a huge score. Yeah, happy with it for sure. Could have done really without Salah doing what he did last night. Not going to lie, like I was, my rank did drop a little bit after that. Not majorly, but I did get up to 400k, yeah, and then back to 500 now. But given 2 weeks ago, I was a month ago I was at 2 million. A couple of weeks ago, I'd climbed up to like 1.5 million, and now I'm up there in the top 500k. So. Yeah, I'm happy with the way that the arrows have been going and the little tweaks that I've made to this team. So that's been good. Alvarez as captain was okay. So that was all right. I couldn't have really gone far wrong this week with all the options that I had. They all returned. So it was what it was. I said before, Dubravka, bit frustrating. I took him out thinking there's no chance of a clean sheet. And there wasn't, but he still manages to get 8 points, which... is a frustration, but yeah, just pleased to have made a bit of a comeback, really, mate, and to have good points over the last few weeks because it's kept me interested and alive in this game because I was starting to think, hang on, I'm properly dropping off a cliff. But it's cool. Dan said he's gone from 1.7 mil to 50k in 7 weeks. That's why we need to keep plugging away at this because, especially, do you know what I think happened over the last few weeks? Obviously, like casuals are going to miss a deadline or they're going to miss a bit of information. And I do think that I don't think I've been particularly great at anything I've done here. I just think I've been on the ball in terms of making sure I've made my transfer, made sure everyone's playing and looked at the fixtures a little bit. And that's all it's taken really to get that climb over the last few weeks.
there was a few managers out there, probably more casual, that would have kept Haaland as well. So again, not only did we make the good decision to sell him a few weeks back, but we also were able to buy players like Solanke or Alvarez, or use some of those funds to be able to afford a Foden or a Diaby or whoever. So again, it's worked out well. RTJ in the chat says he's his best result in 16 years of playing FPL, and he's ranked at 41k. RTJ, that is amazing work. Well played, mate. Yeah, good transfer in with Kyle Walker. Nice differential there with Diaby as well. Loved seeing that. Linus, one of our chasers, our regulars, says Happy New Year, fellas. And to all the chasers too. Lovely super chat there. Thank you, mate. Currently at 400k, need to get to 100k. There's plenty of time left for that. I think you've got all your chips, and there's going to be plenty of blanks and doubles where we make big gains on the casuals. Stay tuned in to CGA for all the latest on chip strategy, for announcement with singles and double game weeks. We're streaming 3 times a week here, so you're going to get loads of info when you need it. Let's have a quick look at my team. Not quite 86 points, although there is a slither of hope with Areola left in goal. I need big points from Areola. My decisions with benching keepers has been terrible the last few weeks. I've been always benching the wrong one. Areola's fresh off what, an 8 and 11 and an 11 points from a bench. Now we've got Dubravka's 8. Yeah. All right. I don't think I'm on 85. Is that 8? Does that total 85? I've surprised myself there. I did not think I got that many points. I'll have a quick look.
You are, mate. You're on 85. Yeah.
Jesus. 85. It didn't feel like that after last night because Salah's points were working against me, as they were for all non-captainers. But yeah, I'd take 85 with Areola to play. I was like 50k last night, and then Salah played and I was about 70k. But I'm fairly happy. Long term, I think my plans are, do I bring Haaland in for game week 21 or not? And that will all be dependent on what I see versus Huddersfield. I need Haaland to be playing a good 30 minutes and positive comments from Pep post-match to make me think he's going to start versus Newcastle. If I think he's going to start versus Newcastle, I think it'd be dangerous for me not to get him in, knowing I've got 2 free transfers. For many that have just got 1 free transfer, I do think you can probably wait till game week 22 and just roll the transfer and then have 2 for Haaland the week after. But I think it's very likely I'll be going Darwin out, Haaland in, and then Salah out. My replacement for Salah needs to be, I think, 6.6 or lower. Richarlison, annoyingly, is like 6.8. So I need to shop for a very cheap midfielder. And currently there's very few that I like. I want to buy a Jota or a Richarlison or a Bowen. I might end up actually taking a 4-point hit and selling Son as well, and then replacing Salah and Son with a Jota and Bowen, for example. That I quite like the idea of. So I'll see where I'm at, but I'm going to wait for the FA Cup, as I mentioned. But yeah, good points all round. Dean, you didn't have Trent. That worked out very nicely for you. You had Walker's 6 when most had Trent 0.
0, yeah. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. Our producer had him as captain as well, didn't he? What do you give your hopes of Areola not playing tonight so you can have those Dubravka points?
Yeah, we need a reoccurrence of that wrist injury, don't we?
Yeah. You'd be buzzing.
Annoyingly slim, but mate, you never know. He has been injured. He's had 1 or 2 games back. Reoccurrence of the wrist injury would be lovely. So yeah, we're pretty happy. Solanke, Dean, we haven't touched on. 9 shots against Spurs. We were both unlucky there.
We're unlucky, yeah. As I said, a small part of me is wondering if I'll get rid of him. I think I'll probably, though, get rid of Alvarez to bring Haaland back in.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a bit of an unnecessary risk for me to take Solanke out, put Haaland and Alvarez in. Knowing that nobody really has Alvarez in this game at the moment, and everybody is getting Solanke. Like, that seems to be building, whereas the Alvarez one feels like it's going the other way. But I just there's something about Solanke that I just feel like I don't need. And I think maybe that's because I've seen his next 2 games of Liverpool and West Ham, and I'm not expecting major points. But then after that, they have got Forest, Fulham, Newcastle. So maybe I should stick with Solanke because he does still look promising. I mean, look, he's going to be linked with a transfer this month. There's no doubt that he's going to get linked with a few clubs. Bournemouth, spoke to someone who's close to Bournemouth the other day, and they said they absolutely will not sell him. There's no chance, they said, of Solanke moving in this transfer window. They just wouldn't do it. It's like, even if someone put £90 million on the table right now, it would totally mess them up. He said, so in the summer, maybe, because these things happen, but he just said he just cannot see Bournemouth losing him right now.
Interesting. Good to know. Just checked Big Man's team. Fairly happy with that. Fairly happy. Dean, we've both beaten Big Man this week. 77.
Oh,
He's got 77 with Areola to play. He actually sold. He's been a bit unfortunate. So his big decision was, does he roll the transfer and captain Salah?
Yeah.
Or does he sell Darwin for Alvarez and captain Alvarez?
Oh, yeah, he did that, didn't he?
And he did that. And
Yeah,
if he didn't do that, he'd be a transfer up. So he'd have 2 free transfers next week. And he would have captained Salah.
That's a big decision gone wrong.
That is a big call gone wrong. Although, yeah, it's still a good week for Big Man. He's still going to be fair.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's still a good score. I mean, the Chasers did not make that mistake. Look, Salah caps him with the 32 points.
I love that. I was giving the Chasers stick for voting Salah, wasn't I? Telling them they're a bit boring on that one. I mean, but good week.
Their defence hasn't gone well. But apart from that, you've got Martinez and Gabriel with 1, Trent with none, and Estupiñán to play. Like, that's a bit of a disaster. But to still end up with 78 points on the back of that is really good.
Yeah, and selling Trippier worked out. And I think we bought Estupiñán, but Trippier obviously didn't start. So again, like a good call there. Newcastle got some tricky fixtures coming up. I can't see too many Trippier points, even if he does start in the next couple. So definitely one there to keep our eye on. Guys, it's awesome having nearly 400 of you in the chat. I'm conscious with 400, there's going to be some new people. So do think about if you're new around here. And I'm sorry for all the chasers. I do apologize for so many of you going, can Gianni stop telling us to subscribe? But I know there are some new faces and you got to hit those buttons if you're new around here. So please do subscribe to the channel. It's good to see so many regulars in, like Aston Villa Bozzy, but the likes of Tony and Michael Scott and COPDL and Mike, we don't see lots of you around here. So it's good to see you in the chat. And thank you.
Mate, do you know what I did?
Likes. Go on.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm on a trial of YouTube Premium.
Oh yeah.
Tell you what, mate, it is good.
Is it?
It is good, yeah, because especially as it just like you can close the screen and it just like carries on playing whatever you're listening to.
Oh, so on your and a lot watch on their phone, over 50%.
So on your phone, there's been a couple of other things that I watch like regularly around football. They're just like talking heads basically, and like I usually just like have it open and just like leave my phone on my iPad running or whatever. Yeah, but. And no ads is a game. Yeah, someone just said there, YouTube Premium is the best. No, it genuinely is like, I can see me getting beyond this free trial and being like, I can't go back to the old way. I'm going to have to get rid of something else from my life that costs like 11 quid a month or whatever to make sure I get YouTube.
Is that Premium. How much it is? Is it that expensive?
I think it is, mate. I think it is. But I think it might be worth it, genuinely. If you can get a free trial of it, and if you've never had the free trial, you can definitely get it. You can just upgrade for a month. So I 100% like advise all of you to at least try and get it because it really is good.
Oh, good. Tony in the chat. Maybe next stream we'll do a poll how many of you are on Premium, but it looks like a few are.
Yeah, it does.
Good to see Tony, who is one of our lurkers. Thanks for the shout out. He's been a chaser for a long time, but hardly ever comments in the chat. So good to see Tony commenting and then getting a shout out. He's also a fan of my personal channel and will join the Ultras someday. Good to know, Tony. Guys, if you're just joining, and loads of you have just joined in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes, go back and watch don't you get 5 membership to Premium? Oh, maybe CH, maybe. Go back and watch the last hour. It's been a good chat. We've had loads of debriefing from the weekend just gone. We've looked at some bonus pieces. We've looked at our teams. We've spoken a little bit about future plans around Son and Salah. Will we sell them? How will we bring them back? So go back and have a little look at that if you're just joining in. And if you have just watched the whole hour, then coming up later this afternoon, I'm going to be dropping a video on my top 10 Salah and Son replacements on my channel. Dean, I've gone ranks FC style. I've ranked the top 10 midfield replacements for Son and Salah.
Oh, very good, mate.
You inspired me.
Oh, mate, I might to nick that off you and we'll stick it on our podcast channel. What am I doing today? I'm about to go and do a podcast for ranks. We're ranking the top teams from all the teams that are on top of Europe's top 5 leagues. We're going to rank them in terms of who we think is actually going to stay there by the end of the season. So I'm about to delve into a whole different world in a minute of European football chat. So if anyone fancies listening to that, that'll be out probably tomorrow. Very good, mate. Make sure you give a shout out to Inter Milan, who are going to win the Champions League this year. You heard it here first. Yeah, we think they're going to do the double. Honestly, I think Inter are better this year than last. And last year they so nearly beat City in the final, didn't they? They did. I mean, they are definitely a better version of that team than now. They're much
it's amazing with no Lukaku. You'd think they'd have got worse, but
it's true. Well, Lautaro turned things around.
Yeah, and free transfer to Aram. Love that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. But Dean and I will be back very soon. It might be a week. It might be
probably next week,
Monday, right? So 6 days.
So. Yeah,
you've got to go without us for 6 days, guys. But we'll be back very soon.
Just keep rewatching this one and get the numbers up.
Yeah, 3 times on all devices. Guys, thank you so much for watching. For now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni. You lot have been the most amazing group of chasers we're very grateful to have. Welcome to 2024. Thank you for supporting us moving forward, and we'll see you very soon.